Hi everyone, Heather here with Spartacus. Today we're going to look at the letter A to learn Articulate Storyline 360 A to Z. So if you recall from our intro video, what we're doing is we're going through the whole alphabet from A to Z, covering all concepts that you'll need to know to learn and use Articulate Storyline 360. And we're doing this with a project-based approach, so I'll be building examples as we go and then showing you step by step how to do this, how to make the exact example. And you can use this for maybe a portfolio or whatever you'd like to use it for. Let's get started. Hi everyone, so today we're going to look at Articulate Storyline 360 A to Z, and we're going to look at the letter A, Applied Layout, Animations, Audio, and Accessibility. So I first want to go over the learning objectives. We are going to apply a layout, so we're going to configure the slide layout in the slide master and then apply it to new slides. We're going to create a simple animation example using entrance and exit animations. We're going to insert voiceover and background music for the example animation. And lastly, we're going to add accessibility elements like alt text and closed captioning. So before we get to the animation, I'm going to show you what it will be like on the next slide. So I'm just going to hit play and we're just going to watch it. In this animation, we are going to look at the transformation from a caterpillar to a butterfly. It's not the exact life cycle of a butterfly, as I just chose a few photographs from the content library just to illustrate applying entrance and exit animation effects to objects. But it's just to get an idea of how to do this. So I'm going to click start here, and then I'll walk you through step by step how to recreate this either exactly using the same images from the content library, or you can use your own images or objects. So I'm going to press start now. So first we have the caterpillar, cocoon, emerging into a butterfly. I'm now going to click replay and do it again. Caterpillar, cocoon, emerging into a butterfly. So there you have it, just a short example to showcase entrance and exit animations as well as audio narration. Okay, so now we're going to look at the slide animation setup. So I'm just going to show you just the big picture of how we set this up, how we're going to set this up. So there's going to be, of course, 4 images. So the caterpillar, the cocoon, emerging from the cocoon, and the butterfly. And then we're going to have 3 slide layers to do this. We have our base layer, and on our base layer, we're going to use a start button to trigger the animation. So when someone clicks start, it's going to show another layer, the animation layer. And on the animation layer is where the bulk of all our programming is going to be. So here we're going to add entrance and exit animation effects to each image and text box, and use states to unhide, hide objects. And if you don't know what a state is, we will get to this later in another video, but I will go over it briefly in this video. And then for the slide logic, this is how it will work. So when a caterpillar image appears, the text associated with the caterpillar is going to appear. And when the caterpillar image disappears, the text will disappear and the next image will appear. When the cocoon image appears, the text associated with it will appear. And when the cocoon disappears, so the cocoon image, when it disappears, the text will disappear and the next image will appear, and so on. So at the end of all of this, a replay button will appear, and when you click it, the next layer is going to show up, the replay layer. And on the replay layer, we're basically going to have a copy of the animation layer. So mostly everything is just going to be copied to this layer. We might have to tweak a few things, but it's mostly going to be the same. So the one key thing we're going to do is when we create this, we start with the base layer, Once that's created, we duplicate it because we want the image of the monitor to be in the same place each time. Then we build this layer and then we duplicate it and then we just tweak it for the replay layer. So let's go try this. I'm gonna now get out of this little presentation and go to the back end of Articulate Storyline 360 and walk you through step by step. Hi everyone, so now we're at the back end of the Articulate Storyline 360 A to Z animation for the concepts that relate to the letter A. And we're now going to look at how to build this animation, caterpillar to butterfly transformation, step by step. But before we do that, I'm going to show you a few other things. So I'm going to show you how to apply a layout first, and then we will get into the animation itself. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to go over to the story view here, and I'm going to add a new scene. And this is what we will play in, so to speak. So we'll next go to the slide master. So you go to View, Slide Master. Now I've already configured this, so you can see here my theme that I've chosen. It's the spotlight theme, and I also added an image here for the title slide. But you can configure it however you like. So I just went up to themes, or you could create your own, and I just picked one. So you can just pick one of these, and it comes with its own custom colors and everything. So pick one that you'd like, or use the one that I chose. So it's the spotlight one. And then it will populate here, and you can have one for the title slide. And this is your main kind of content slide with the slide title and slide text. You can have one for question slide, question title with picture as well, and just a blank one. So that's basically how you set it up if you want to just do a quick slide master. So once you've configured that, you close this. So let's go into our other scene here that I'm going to use just to build the example over again. And if I go to insert a new slide, I can then choose the layout that I'd like to use. So I will then use title and content here. So that's how I apply the layout. So now I'm going to just type in the title of our animation slide. So it was Caterpillar to Butterfly Transformation. Okay, and it's already in the color that I want because it's already been set in the slide master. And then I'm going to insert some text for the instructional text to click our button that's going to say start. So I'm just going to type it here. So click start to begin animation. So I'm going to make the word start the default yellow color. So I've highlighted it, and I'll just go up here and change it to yellow. And then I had this at a different font, so we can just change that if you want, or you can just leave it the same. I had it at this one right here. There we go. Okay, so that part's done, and then you could just adjust this if you want. Move that up like that. So we are creating right now the base layer. So the base layer, if we go back to that slide where I showed the big picture, we're going to create a base layer, an animation layer, and a replay layer. So I'll just go to that right now just to refresh your memory. So we'll go back to our other scene here, to this slide right here. Just double click, and you can kind of see it from the back end because it's not animated right now, but the base layer will have a start button, and when you click it, it's going to trigger this animation layer to appear. So that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to create the button now. So I'm going to go over to insert, button, and it's not going to be exactly like what we did before, because unless I want to make it the same size, but we can just estimate it. And then I'm going to type start. And you could just leave it like that, or if you want to make it yellow, go to the font. And you can leave it the default color or you can change it. So we'll just leave it for now. It's up to you what colors you want to use. I'm just going to show you the basics of how to set this up. And then we'll go over here to the timeline, and I'm going to just label this here, start. Next, we're going to insert the monitor image. So I'll just go back and refresh your memory. So this is what we're trying to build here. So we're going to find the image in the content library, and we have our button as well. Sorry, I think we're not on the base layer. There's the base layer. So this is the start button and this is the monitor. That's what we're going to replicate right now. So we'll go over to insert, and we're looking for an illustration, and I'm just going to type monitor here. And I'm trying to find the one we had before, but if we don't, it's fine. We can just use anything you want, really. I think it's this one. So I'm going to select that and insert, and then I'm going to resize it. So I'm just going to eyeball it. Like I said, we don't have to have it exactly the same. I'm going to maybe move this button over a bit. Okay, something like that. So we'll leave it as is. Now, where we place this, we're going to just keep this in the same spot each time. So when we create the next two layers, we're going to be duplicating this, so it will be in the exact same spot. Okay, so now we're going to duplicate this layer to create the animation layer. We're going to come back later and put in the entrance and exit animations and the triggers, and you'll learn more about these in another video, but I'm just going to cover the basics just so we can create this animation example. Okay, so I'm going to right click here. So this is where your layers show up. So the base layer, and now we're going to create one more. So I'm going to duplicate. And the reason why I duplicate is because I want to keep this monitor and the button and everything in the same spots. So now I'm on the next layer here, but I'm going to rename this to animation. Okay, so now we're on the animation layer. This will be the main layer that's going to show the animation effects. So on this layer, what we can do, because we duplicated it, but we don't really need the title and everything to show up here again, because it's on the base layer, so we can delete it. Okay, so we're gonna, after we've deleted the titles there, we're actually going to just rename this one to replay. And I'm going to also rename it here in the timeline. Okay, but the thing with the replay button, now let's just line this up a little bit better, is we don't want it to show right away. We want it to show after the animations happen. So we're going to go over here to something called states, and this just indicates how your object will appear, like with the initial state. So right now it's normal, meaning it's going to show up, and how it'll appear once it's like when you hover over the button or when you press it, when it's visited, when it's disabled. So we'll go over this a little bit more in another video, but just to make this work, we need to use this concept right now. So I'm just going to set this to hidden, and it's going to gray it out. So this means it's not going to show up right away until we trigger it. So now we're going to look for the images to put in here, and I'm just going to find the same ones we had before. So we'll go to insert, and we're going to go to photos, and I'm just going to search for images. So we'll look for the caterpillar first. So I believe the one I chose is a few screens down. Oh, there it is. So I'll click that. I'm just going to insert. Okay, and I'm just going to make this fit inside the monitor. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we'll keep that one like that. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do in the timeline after, but let's just get these images in here. Now let's go back to the content library and look for the cocoon. Actually, while we're here, I think there's another image here that pops up with the word caterpillar. Yeah, this one that we use. So I'll just insert that. We'll just put that off to the side for a second. And we'll go back here and go to photos and look for cocoon. And that's it right there. And I'm just going to resize both of these. All right, that looks pretty good. It's not going to be perfect, but... And this one. Okay, so we got those three, and now we need the butterfly image. Okay, and this is the one we used before, but you can use a different one. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that these images, when this slide starts, we don't want to be able to see these right away because we want them to come in with an entrance animation effect. So I'm going to go back to the states, and actually before we do that, let's rename the rest of these. So let's just call this monitor. There we go. And this one, so if you want to know which one it is, just go up to here to arrange and bring it to the front. That's the caterpillar. And then we'll go to this one. That's the emerging, so it's emerging from the cocoon. So I'm just going to call it emerging. And that's the cocoon. And then this one is probably the butterfly. So the reason I label it here is it makes it easier when you're applying triggers, just to know which one you're dealing with. So that's why we do that. So one other thing we're going to do is we want this to come in at a certain time, like when we have the entrance and exit animations, because once we hit start, it's just going to play automatically. So I'm just going to extend here the timeline, and we're going to make all of these a few seconds each. Okay, so we're going to chop it down. So this one will stay to the end, the monitor, but the caterpillar is going to start in the beginning, but it's only going to go to here. And then the cocoon will be next. So I'm just going to move that down. So you can just kind of move things around here. And that one's going to start at 3 seconds and go to 6 seconds. And then the emerging image is going to start at 6 seconds and go to 9 seconds. And then the butterfly is going to start at 9 seconds and go to 12 seconds. Okay, so now we're going to add the text that will pop up when these images appear. So I'm going to insert a text box, and I'm going to type caterpillar. And I'm going to make that a certain font, but you can just leave it or do whatever you want for the font. Okay, so there's the first one, and we'll figure out where it's going to go in a minute. I'm just going to copy this and create all the other ones. So the cocoon, and then we'll just have the word emerging, or you can use something else. Now, like I said, it's not the exact life cycle of a butterfly, but it was just to illustrate the concept, and those were the images that I found first. Okay, so I'm also going to label these in the timeline so we know which ones they are. So this is the text for the caterpillar. And this one is the text for the cocoon. And this is for the emerging image. And this is for the butterfly. Okay, so now we have all the text boxes created. I'm just going to stack them on top of each other, and then we're going to hide them. Because again, these are going to enter with the images only when we trigger it to do so. So I'm just going to position these as best I can. And you can get it better than I can. I'm just doing it really quick here. Okay, there. So now they're stacked on top of each other. Let's go make them hidden by going to the states button here again. Go back to the timeline, just click this one. Go back to the timeline. So those all should be hidden now.